Todd McFarlane said that 2021 would be the year of Spawn, but you might be wondering to yourself, who's Spawn? Woof woof! Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and we're back with another video. And yeah, still haven't found time to get a haircut. So already we've covered quite a few characters in the Who Is series, and I'd recommend checking out the full playlist. For the first time, we're going to be taking a look at the image character, Spawn. Todd McFarlane first created Spawn at the age of 16, and he then went on to become the poster boy for Image Comics in its formative years, and arguably through to this day. The first issue was insanely popular, and it benefited from being part of the speculative phase of comics where people didn't know what would be worth something years from now. Issue 1 sold 1.7 million copies, which is an insane number, especially when you compare it to something like the 2015 relaunch of Star Wars, which only sold 1.1 million copies. But Spawn first debuted in May of 1992 in his own solo series, and his real name is Simmons. I'm not sure if he's related to Gene Simmons with just how metal the whole thing looks. That's something that I didn't really research into. I'm just going to assume that he's not. He was born in Detroit and later moved to New York, and due to his strength and intelligence, he managed to work his way up to Lieutenant Corporal in the US Marine Corps. Yep, I finally learned the correct way to pronounce that. He then went to the Secret Service, the CIA, and finally found himself as a hired assassin as part of the US security group. However, because Simmons' morality gets him on the wrong side of his boss, Director Wynn, his old friend, whose codename is Chapel, is hired to kill him and burns him to death. Yeah, I thought my friends were bad. He's sent to hell because, well, he's an assassin. Where else is he gonna go? Simmons is offered a second chance at life by the devil Melrosia. Melrosia? I don't think any of them were correct. But only if he will serve as a hellspawn to fulfill his desires, which is to collect evil souls for Hell's army. Because the alternative is living in hell, Simmons accepts and is returned to Earth with the name Spawn and with very little knowledge of his previous life. However, he's returned 5 years after he died, which he learned because of the fact that he went to see his wife but saw that she'd already remarried his best friend and had a child with him. This begins part of his ongoing quest to try and remember exactly what happened in his past and who exactly betrayed him. Yet Spawn isn't the first or only Hellspawn that's existed before, and he learns about the complexities of both his powers and the deal that he made. Their abilities, which include speed, strength, stamina, teleportation, shape-shifting, immortality. Wait a second here. You know what, it might just be easy to say which powers he doesn't have. But these various abilities are powered by necroplasm, which is a green magical energy that hellspawns are composed of. However, Al later realizes that once he's used up all of his necroplasm, he's going to be returned to hell for the rest of eternity. It's almost like making a deal with the devil isn't a great idea. But due to this, Spawn tries to limit the use of his powers while still fulfilling his obligations. So he decides to inflict punishment on gangsters, murderers, and pedos whilst using his powers in a limited capacity. It's a bit like that weird time of the Punisher when he was a mystical entity, but if it was written well. He gains the reputation as the King of Rat City, which is a part of New York that is mostly inhabited by the homeless. He meets one of his closest allies there, Cogliostro, who, in all honesty, every time I hear that name, I think about the candlestick out of Beauty and the Beast. But he has quite a mysterious past, and he helps Al to learn more about his powers and responsibilities as a Hellspawn. It's also learned that his suit can go through metamorphosis and develop, with one notable inclusion being that of chains and spikes. And they did that because of a little known fact that in the 90s it was a legal requirement that every comic character get either spikes, chains, or pouches. That's the basis for his origin story and how he developed into the character that we now know. But despite the fact that he only debuted in the last 30 years, he's already had quite a storied history. With the majority of his series still being enjoyable to modern day readers, I'm not going to spoil every one of his stories right here and just allow you to experience them. So instead we're going to look at some of his villains, and first up we've got Melrosia. I really tried my best that time, but my mouth just won't pronounce the word correctly. But yeah, it's the devil that gave Spawn his powers in the first place. Over the course of Spawn's early stories, Al grows more and more frustrated at the deal that he struck up and the way that he feels he's being treated, and in the end the one who gave Spawn his second chance at life ends up living to regret it. Next up, and probably his most famous, is Violator, who you might recognise from the 1997 movie. He's something of a servant for the Hellspawns on Earth, so he's introduced as the guide to Al, but he does it reluctantly. He doesn't see humans as strong enough to lead Hell's army, so every chance that he gets, he's always trying to undermine Spawn. But because of his role as a servant, he's forbidden to kill him. He's a shapeshifter who takes the appearance of a short fat clown just so that it's different from the other comic series about a guy with a long cape who broods over a city that also has an arch nemesis who is a clown. Jason Wayne, the director of the CIA who gave the initial order to have Al killed. He works in a similar capacity to Lex Luthor because the majority of his threat comes from the power and the influence that he's got. However, throughout Spawn's history, he has gained and lost powers at certain points, so he has been quite a formidable foe. But being an anti-hero means that it's not just evildoers who want to kill you. Take for example Angela. She's a bounty hunting angel who's introduced in the early issues of Spawn as somebody who likes to hunt hellspawns for fun. But honestly, the legal battle that went on between Marvel and Image for this character probably deserves its own video, so if that's something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments section. There's also NYPD detectives Sam Berg and Twitch Williams who start investigating Spawn after he killed that pedo Billy Kincaid that we spoke about earlier. And Spawn did that by stabbing him with an ice cream scooper and popsicles that he found in the ice cream truck that Billy was using to lure kids. The popularity of these characters led to them having their own spin-off series, which you get no prize for guessing was called Sam and Twitch. There's also different versions of Spawn that chart throughout history just due to the nature of the deal with the devil. So just to name a few, there's been Samurai Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, Medieval Spawn, but the poster boy has pretty much always been Al. The popularity of Spawn meant that he got his own movie released in 1997, which was a pretty quick turnaround considering when the character first debuted. But admittedly, this movie wasn't received well, and I remember liking it as a kid, but I should probably go back because my tastes have probably changed. I don't know, if you want to see a review, again, let me know. But Reboot for the franchise has been announced for some time now, with Jamie Foxx set to be in the lead role. However, despite what McFarlane says, we haven't seen too much from this project. Normally in a Who Is, I like to give a few suggestions for series or runs that you can read to try and understand a character a bit better, but with Spawn, I've only really read the early years, most of which are contained in this compendium, which is why I've mostly focused on that part of the character's history, but I can still recommend those early years because they do still read well to a modern reader. It's not like some of the other characters that I've spoke about where I recommend stories that are more in the later part of their history because of the fact that you can't really go back and read some of the first titles because they're quite dated. Like, yeah, it might not be as fluid as a title that comes out today, but I can still recommend picking up this compendium, which you can still get at our sponsor Organic Price Books. I definitely recommend picking it up from there, and if you use code WOOFWOOF, you will get $2 off your order. And I'm kind of hoping that we get a volume 2 announced soon. But Spawn is quite unique in the fact that you can reasonably start at the beginning and just read through and get this entire run. Sure, there's a few spin-offs along the way, but you'll be okay just going from issue 1 and seeing where it takes you. And despite the fact that Spawn isn't as high profile as a character as when he first appeared on the scene, which is also due in part to the fact that the perception of Image has changed and it isn't as rebellious of a movement as when it first came out, Spawn still features in his own ongoing series, which is now in the 300s, which makes it the longest running independent comic book series of all time. And what's even more impressive is that it's still being written by its original creator, Todd McFarlane. And it doesn't look like there's any signs of this character disappearing soon, because just a few months ago, Todd McFarlane announced Spawn Universe, which are 4 separate series that all look at a different aspect of the Hellspawn and help to build up that world and the mythology. So you've got Spawn's Universe, Gunslinger Spawn, King Spawn, and the Scorched. And these are going to be released throughout the year, and there's a top tier list of creators that will be helping out. So now might be a better time than ever to jump into Spawn, whether you want to start at the beginning or jump into one of the new series that's starting this year. And hopefully this video has helped your understanding of this character just a little bit, just so that you know a bit more about Image's golden child. But that's the video, and I'm hoping that you've enjoyed it. In the comment section, let me know who you want to see a Who Is of next. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, why did you get this far? Subscribe if you're new here and click that bell notification so that you never miss a video. Share this video where you can so that more people can get to know Spawn. And why not check out one of my other videos? But until next time, just make sure that you stay safe, stay reading the best books that you can find, and stay mad all you dogs. Woof woof! See you at the next video.